we're going to play dominoes in our mind, but we're not going to play the traditional way. We're going to take our dominoes and we're going to set them up on their sides, just like this, one after another in a long line. And we're not going to match them together. We're just going to do something very simple, and we all did it as kids. We're going to knock that first one over. And once that happens, everything else takes care of itself. The first one falls into the next into the next, and so on. And suddenly you've got motion that almost happens completely on its own. Just needs to be started with that one little push. Now that's the part that most writers miss when they're writing stories. A lot of times these stories feel like they're moving, but nothing is actually driving them. Scenes happen, information gets revealed, characters talk, but if you step back and look at it, you can't always tell what caused what. And when that happens, the story starts to feel loose. The wheels begin to wobble. Like it could meander anywhere, but the story would never really change. That's a breakdown in your fundamental story structure. And that's unfortunately going to cost you readers. Remember, strong storytelling doesn't come from adding more and more moments. It comes from linking meaningful moments together so tightly that one knocks into the next. Let's take a hard look at that very first domino in your story. How is it different from the other ones? It seems the same, right? But it's not just something that happens early on. It's not just something kind of interesting. It's not even just one that sparks some kind of change. The magic domino is the spark that starts a chain reaction. If that moment disappears, if you pulled that little domino off the table, what would happen to the rest of your story? Well, hopefully it would freeze. No shifting, no adjusting, no accommodating, just a complete lack of motion because nothing started that reaction. That's how you know that you found your first domino. Here's a simple way to test this in your own work. So pick any moment in your opening and ask yourself, what does this cause? And then follow that answer. This leads to that leads to the next thing, and keep going until you see a sequence forming. Now go back to the beginning of that sequence and ask, where does this actually start? Not where are the things introduced or where the character is explained. Where does one event create the next event? That's domino numero uno. Everything before it might still have value. It might help you understand the character. It might give you context for the world, but it isn't doing that kinetic work. It isn't that first bump that starts everything else in motion. Now, once that first domino falls, everything changes. The story now has direction. It has motion, not because you're pushing it forward, but because it's built to move that way, one scene to the next. One moment creates the next moment creates the next, and so on. And when that's working, readers feel it. They don't stop to question why something is happening. They hang on because each moment pulls them into the next one. That's the difference between a story that drifts and a story that drives. And it turns out that's what also makes you a stronger writer. Once you start thinking in terms of cause and effect, once you start asking what each moment creates instead of what each moment contains, you stop haphazardly arranging scenes. Instead, you start building momentum. So if your story feels stuck or scattered or feels like it's not quite locking into place, don't go back and just add more. Go back to the very beginning. Find domino numero uno. Make sure it actually tips forward into the next domino. Because once that happens, the fuse is lit and your readers are ready to go. If you like this video, we're pretty sure you'll want to watch this one too. Please don't forget to subscribe and share this with someone you think it might help. And for more information on us, go to wardwritingworks.com.